Greetings, unsettled souls. Welcome to the Correct Views. Sam I be the Gangi doing political commentary for the Media Speaks, or since we are in the InfoWars contest, as I am going to say throughout the rest of this, listening to the Ohio correspondent for InfoWars, Sam I be the Gangi. Hello. Hit subscribe. So many of you found me last time from the InfoWars contests, and I'm excited about bringing you the Fukushima news. One of the things that InfoWars has done that almost no one else has done is they have continued to report on how bad it actually is. As Alex Jones said one time, well, we have a little neutron star just burning away in Japan, and nobody seems to care very much. You might notice I'm wearing the Fukushima shirt. If you've never heard the song Paragon by Skinny Puppy, do make sure that you look it up. For those of you that somehow get your news from music, which I know is popular these days. But all jokes aside, friends, this is bad. This is going to lead to cancers, to heart problems. And for those of you that say, oh, I'm not afraid to die, everything kills me at some point. Listen, that's not the way nuclear radiation works. Look up the work of Helen Collicott. She's a doctor, Dr. Chris Busby. Look up the work of Lauren Moe. It decreases the quality of your health and your life with cumulative damage. That means it gets worse with each exposure. It does never go away. And it will diminish your quality of life through all of your life. And if you don't care about yours, if you're one of those people, it does it to your family. To some degree, it even does it to your pets. It is toxic. And before I get into exactly how bad it's going in Japan currently with this, I want to go ahead and spend a second talking about what caused it. We all know that the meltdowns were caused by the earthquake. Now, the tidal wave, of course, knocked out the generators. They would not have had as many meltdowns, okay? But it is important to remember that one of the units was melting down based on the earthquake alone. That's very important to know. In other words, you can live in an area that is nowhere near the water, but if an earthquake is severe enough, the nuclear power plant in your region could very easily be looking at a nuclear meltdown. Or, as Fukushima did, melt through and melt out. That's when it goes into the water table or explodes and goes into the environment, which is like a dirty bomb. How many of you realize it wasn't a terrorist that set off a dirty bomb? It was TEPCO, the people that own General Electric. That's what happened here. And for those of you that have nuclear power plants, if you live by a dam, you happen to live by a dam, you could be flooded from the same thing, in which case you would lose power and you would have a local Fukushima, which is why we're still talking about this all these years later. Because it matters, friends. They're not going to tell you this because there's a lot of big dollars in not telling you this, particularly when you realize that TEPCO, of course, is owned by General Electric. So there's a lot of dollars at play here, and a lot of news organizations make a lot of money by not covering this. But Honolulu, the U.S. Geological Survey, reports a 5.0 magnitude earthquake has struck Hawaii's Big Island. The Temblor Thursday is the latest and largest in a series of hundreds of small earthquakes to shake the island's active volcano, Kilauea. I think it says Pu'u'ua vent crater. It collapsed and caused magma to rush into the new underground chambers. The quake was centered about 4.3 miles from the south flank of the volcano. And you can read the rest of it there at Yahoo. It says, it appears that the ground shaking from the earthquake caused rock falls in the Pu'u'u crater and the volcano's east rift zone, which resulted in a short-lived plume of reddish ash rising above the cone. Now, you might say, well, Sam, don't worry so much. It's only one earthquake. And, of course, they happen all the time. Okay, well, let's stop and pause there for a second. Yeah, they happen all the time. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that Japan was created by an earthquake. And it will probably be taken someday away by an earthquake. Now, while that's probably not going to happen in our lifetime, do we want to keep building these nuclear power plants, which are basically nuclear bombs just sitting waiting for a disaster? Do we want to keep making these? And don't give me this malarkey that it's an isolated incident. Let me show you your isolated incident for those of you that think that way. It's from CNN, posted on MSN News. 9,900 earthquakes unleashed on Hawaii Island in the last 30 days. This is posted just 2 days ago, friends. From earthquakes to sweeping lava, Hawaii's Big Island has seen plenty from nature since the first eruptions. The lava keeps spewing, swallowing homes, and igniting fears of more destruction to come. Now, we don't have the technology to even approach the nuclear power plants that when they go red, such as Fukushima did. They could encapsulate the one that was in Russia, Chernobyl, but that was not an option here due to the very nature of the ground in Japan. It's a lot different than the soil in Russia. The lava keeps spewing, swallowing homes and igniting fears of more destruction to come. It says, here's what the disaster looks like by the numbers. 9,900 earthquakes. Between May 4th and Monday, there have been nearly 10,000 quakes, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The Big Island usually gets its fair share of quakes, but activity in the last 30 days has far outpaced its historical monthly average. All right, so with all of that in mind, do we wish to keep going down the road that we are now? I don't care if you are a green weenie. Does this sound like you're saving the environment? Because it doesn't to me. It sounds to me like it's time for the DUMBDEE of the day. If you don't know what the DUMBDEE of the day is, it's the stupidest story. Oh, yes, the stupidest story we have. It's for all of those people that continue to stand beside nuclear power as if it is some great savior for our planet and going to do us wonders. And we're going to spend the last 3 minutes looking at the exact wonders here. Fukushima, this is from Newsweek, Fukushima nuclear plant, radioactive waste flowed into the bay for 5 years after the disaster. That's half a decade, friends. So do you think that could possibly be why we're seeing the worst die-off in the Pacific Ocean that we have ever seen? Why we can't pull one tuna out of the water that isn't radioactive? Not one. How many of you are chowing on salmon, not worrying about any of this? They haven't pulled one out of there that wasn't glowing. And as we've already said, it's cumulative, so it doesn't go away. You can't just use the restroom and it's out of your system. It will be there. When they bury you 1,000 years from now, it will still be very active. Look up the half-life of uranium and plutonium. Look up what cesium does to the body. Look up what strontium does to the bones. Radioactive waste from Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Japan flowed into Tokyo Bay for 5 years after the 2011 disaster, according to a new study. Hideo Yamazaki, a former professor of environmental analysis at Kinde University, told the Asahi Shimbun that 20,100 becquerels of cesium per square meter were found in the mud. Okay, now before we log off here for the day, let's take a good look at what a becquerel is, because I know most people don't know. This is terrifying. 10,000 becquerels? Each becquerel is a tiny nuclear explosion that happens within the body. You can look this up. I'm paraphrasing here. It's a tiny nuclear explosion that happens within the body. And each of those explosions can hit another cell, like a grenade going off on a very microscopic level. That little explosion can cause a mutated cell. That can mutate another cell. We have a word for that. It's called cancer. So please don't tell me that nuclear power is saving us, because it's not. You're listening to The Correct Views, friends. Please vote for my success at InfoWars. I have to jump off here in order to meet the time limit. There will be a part 2 to this soon. You can donate at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com through PayPal. Good night and God bless.